Join Sean and Brad as they talk about sports and share a beer. From the east coast of Canada to the west coast of the United States. Over to you, boys.
Hey everybody, yo, what's good with you? Hey, guysbeersports. My name is Brad. I come from the west coast of America. With me, as always, Sean Valancourt. Currently in Toronto. Sean, hello. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are.
Yeah, buddy.
How are you?
I'm good, man. You know what? I was just going through all the different nicknames of Toronto right now as it has progressed throughout the time. And it's just like,
throughout your 50 years.
Yeah. Throughout my 50 years. So the Big Smoke, Hog Town, Cabbage Town.
The Big Smoke?
Yeah. T dot, O dot, T dot, the dot, and then now just plain the 6.
Okay. I only was aware of T dot and the 6.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
You'll have to forgive me, Toronto folks.
It's all good.
Is it Torontarians? Is that what it is?
Torontonians. You're close.
Okay.
Torontonians. Wow. Very close. Very close.
Yeah.
I'll give you a gold star for that effort.
How very diplomatic of you. So, folks, this week's episode is the second half of our interview from last week. So if you haven't listened to last week, just go ahead and hit pause here, go back, check that out. It's very interesting. I'll tell you this, we didn't plan on talking about Perry's I guess take on writing and why he was so motivated to write books, or his reason with his sister being sick. If you've listened, Sean and I also have experienced cancer loss and battles in our life too. So it's a very compelling story. It was meant to be a standalone episode, and there was so much good stuff in there. We didn't want to cut it. So go back, listen to that. If you've already listened to that, here's the rest of Perry, and we will see you on the other side.
That's right.
And you've written on some of the most, to me, impressive Canadian athletes, and probably at some of the height of their popularity. Like I was looking, you wrote a book on Doug Flutie, Mike Pinball Clemens, which Brad Pinball was something. That's all I could tell you.
I know. I remember. I'm just south of the border, Sean. I got the CBC.
And then a subject that's kind of dear to my heart. I tried it, didn't work out. Little pro wrestling. You managed to write about probably the upper echelon, as far as I am concerned, the excellence of execution, Bret the Hitman Hart. Wow.
Yeah. Again, here's the book, the Bret Hart book, and one of the more interesting things about this book is that he did a book signing in Toronto, and my parents were there. All these wrestling fans of all different ages and how they look. There's my parents. They're probably in their 60s at the time, whatever it was. These two little people, right? And they introduced themselves on Perry's parents, right? And he wrote something really nice, on a book for them, and I thought. It was just funny that, wrestling people are in their own little world. To me, it's so many of these wrestlers marry wrestlers. And to me, it's very much like curling. Curling is the people that are in it are really in it. The competitors, and sometimes their marriages collapse and they end up marrying a fellow curler. And that's kind of what happened with Sandra Schmiller. Like, and she was married to somebody, he wasn't as into her and as into what she was doing as, and it was, to her, it was sad, right? So all she wanted in her life was, despite all these amazing things she had done in curling, she just wanted to find somebody that would be a soulmate, somebody that would appreciate her, not just as a curler, but just as a person. And she found that, and 2 years later, she dies of cancer, right? And it's just, again, to me, that book is the one that means more to me than any other book, because I tell people, this isn't a book about curling. This is a book, it's a tragic love story, about somebody who yearns to find love and finally finds it. And, she dies 2 years later, and she got like one girl was like 2.5 and another was like 9 months. So it's like everything she wanted in life, it finally happened. And yet, that was her life, right? And again, it's kind of a sad story, but I'm more drawn to that book just because of her and how much people say, like, what's the greatest athlete you've ever seen, you've ever covered? And I go, it's Sandra Schmiller. They go, a curler? And I go, yeah, because this girl played in like she won 3 Canadian championships, 3 world championships, and a gold medal in curling in 1998. So curling was there. I think it was like the first time. There's the men's hockey team, and she's in the commissary, and Wayne Gretzky walks up to her and starts talking to her, like, because she's into curling. She goes, like, I can't believe it, Wayne Gretzky's talking to me. So it's a story about a woman from a small town called Bigger, Saskatchewan, who goes on to become arguably the greatest women's skip of all time. And, unfortunately that was her life. So, but I can get all dramatic about that, but now I can turn around and talk about wrestling because wrestling's crazy, right? I mean, it's like.
Go ahead.
I'm saying, like, I was watching Monday night, and my wife's coming down there, and her thing is, like, she watches all these reality shows, right? And some of the shows she's watching, like, I can't believe we're watching that. And so she'll come down and go, I can't believe you're watching wrestling, because they're both soap operas in some respects. But what I appreciate about wrestling is this idea that it's fake. It's not fake. These guys are athletes, men and women. More women are doing incredible things these days. You can't fake some of those moves that they're doing. Yeah, you can fake a punch, but you can't fake, like, jumping off the top rope, doing a suplex or something like that. It just doesn't work. And some of them get hurt. So I say, yeah, it's scripted entertainment. You know what the finish is going to be, but it's the athleticism. And when I say, what the finish is going to be, for anybody who knows anything about Bret Hart, it's called the Montreal Screwjob, because he was supposed to retain the belt, and Vince McMahon, who owns the company, decides, no, he's going to another company. I don't want him taking the belt with him, because it happened once before with another wrestler.
Yeah, with Medusa Miceli,
yeah.
She showed up at WCW. Yeah.
So they screwed Bret out of what he wanted to do, even though he had a license in the contract. This is what it was going to be. And at the same time, there was a gentleman in Toronto, I think his name was Paul J. I could be wrong, who was doing a documentary about Bret called Wrestling with Shadows.
Shadows, yeah.
You have to, if you have not seen that documentary, you have to watch it, because Bret explains it all and saying, it's that thin vein of reality. That's what wrestling is. It's real. And for people to say it isn't real, well, some of it isn't real, but it's more real than you think.
Yeah.
It was funny because he gave some pretty hard criticisms in Wrestling with Shadows about Triple H and Shawn Michaels and stuff. This is Bret the Hitman Hart. And then you look at Triple H becoming arguably another great big name, where he said that he was really not going to amount to anything. I don't know how much of it goes into marrying into the family or not, but I mean, you have to have some talent in order to stay there. My thing with Bret, he made you proud to be a Canadian in that time. I remember that. It was just like, you were so proud that this Canadian has won the title. He's not some 6'8", 320-pound freak. He looks like a regular 6'1", 240, right? That was his build weight at that time. And he's wrestling guys.
A regular 6'1", 240.
Yeah, regular 6'1", 240 guy. Going up against Undertaker, who's 6'10", 310. Going up against Razor Ramon, who's 6'8", 320. And I'm just like, people will be there going, how's he going to put the sharpshooter on him? Look at those legs. And the thing is that he would make you believe, because the way he would attack the leg and just go methodically after it, make you just look at that script. It's like, this is how I'm going to break this person down. There was nobody better at that. I remember going from the second rope, and he'd come down with the elbow all the time. Like, that was one of his Latin things he'd do. And unbelievable. It was poetry in motion. And when you saw the Montreal Screwjob, it was flabbergasting, because the thing is that nobody wanted to see Bret lose in Canada. And Vince made it that, right? Like, Vince made it that at that moment. When you really think about it, everybody, had factions. You had the Nation of Domination. You had this motorcycle group there, whatever was happening. And Bret the Hitman Hart, the Hart Foundation, and they just come in with the Canadian flag. And that was like one of the most famous things. I don't know which country, which state he was in, which city he was in, but basically said that the U.S. looks like a toilet It's underneath.
Yeah, I mean,
Canada.
Vince wanted him to be anti-US, anti-American, say all these things, and Bret had been seasoned enough in wrestling to cut promos without having them being scripted. And he says, like, he's fearing for his life when he goes outside the arena, because these people don't like what he's saying, and yet he crosses the border in Canada and they all love him, right? It was one of the most bizarre type of you could be loved in one place and hated in another, and they're wrestling far more often in the US than they are in Canada.
He was loved across the world. That's the thing, is that,
yeah,
I'm sorry, Brad, but everybody seems to want to hate Americans. It's just like, right? And so, like, he was loved everywhere. He was the face everywhere else. But in the US, he was like a great big heel, and
his mother's American. So he's saying,
that's right.
There was no way I felt that way. My mother's American, but this is what they're asking me to do. So I did it. I played a role. And the reason Bret became the champion is because that was not long after the whole steroid trial, where all these, Hulk Hogan's of the world, they admitted they did steroids, and there was a whole big controversy, and Vince decided, okay, I'm gonna have to switch things around. I can't have, my champion, number one, talent that I'm gonna push being one of these big guys. I'll go with these guys who are mid-sized guys. And Bret ran with it, and he wasn't, when he was doing tag teaming, he wasn't that great. He evolved, in the same way I said Nick evolved as a broadcaster, Bret evolved as a wrestler. He came from that technical background, learning from his father in the dungeon, which, by the way, I went and saw it, when I went out to Calgary to interview him, and it's like, it looks like a mat, nothing much else, right? It's no ring, there's no ropes. It's just, it was one of the more interesting experiences I've had as as being a writer, and getting to see Bret Hart. And I'm talking to Bret, and he's talking to me the same way I'm talking right now, and yet he'll go out in the ring and he'll project. So what's also interesting is that Bret Hart, that's his name, where some of these other people, they were given names and characters and all that. And the criticism against him was he didn't know the difference, right? He took it way too seriously and didn't understand the business. And at any point in time, Vince McMahon's running the show, and he'll decide what's going to happen. And for Bret, to me, it was one of the more fascinating things I've ever done, getting to meet this guy up close and finding out he's just a regular guy when you're talking.
Right. I don't even know how you hold it together when you're talking to somebody of that. You know what I mean? Because this is still, what year did that book come out? Was that just after WCW transition?
That book came out in 2000, the same year that the Sandra Schmiller book came out. Both those books became bestsellers. So I'm looking at the Globe and Mail. Here's their top 10 books. I got 2 books in the top 10. I mean, you can understand with Bret, but for what happened with Sandra's book sold more than 25,000 units. And just this sort of comparison, a book that sells 5,000 copies in Canada is a bestseller. So that tells you that 5 times, like, for what a bestseller is, that's how many people wanted to read that book, because people in Saskatchewan love their heroes, and she was a hero. And to me, it was a great Canadian story. But like I said, it's a tragic love story. And you ask me, how do I keep it together when I'm interviewing these people? I always tell them beforehand, I'm probably going to know more about you than you know about yourself. And because I try to research as much as I can so I can bring stuff forward, because, they may not remember it. And the more I could bring to researching the subject, the more I'm able to bring out in the whole story, as opposed to just walking in there and think, yeah, I've written X amount of books. Tell me about your life, right? It doesn't work like that. And it doesn't work when you're interviewing people in my job as a journalist. They'll see right through you saying, okay, this guy doesn't even care, right? He just thinks he can waltz right in there and just ask me a bunch of questions. So you do your homework, like I said with Nick, people will respect you.
That's really good. That's really good. I'm still amazed. Because, like, all right, so was Stu Hart still around at this point when you were writing the book? Because you get a chance to meet him?
Yeah, so here's the anecdote, and it's pretty funny. Like, Brett and I are going back because he wants me to meet, see the Hart house. He wants me to meet his parents, right? So he's with his son Blade. Blade was about 12 or something at the time there, right? So Brett basically says, I got to go talk to one of my sisters. She's having problems, right? So Blade will tell you how to get to the house. So there I drive this car up to this house. It's dark, I walk in there and I see some guy watching TV, and in the room there's a bunch of barrels that you would see if you went into a place to get food barrels of this or that, right? Bulk barn, whatever, right? It's one of his brothers, Smith Hart, right? It was weird, right? But that was only I got to meet Stu, and Stu says, and I can't do the voice very well. Hey, would you like me to put you in like that? Like that was my next question, right? And I'm saying, no, man, I don't want to get stretched. It's okay. And then Helen comes by and she says, oh, Stu, leave him alone. Come on. And so she was, let's have some tea, right? And it was just, and then I went downstairs to see the dungeon. It's very steep metal steps. And then I get there and I see it kind of looks like almost like a gym, or if you remember what it was like in high school where you on a mat type thing.
Yeah.
Basically that it was kind of not, it was really dingy. There was some, free weights around, but really this was just a place where he would put all these submission moves on these people that want to become wrestlers. And like I said, to him, I think putting somebody in a submission move was a badge of honor, whatever, right? Yeah. But it was like me, like, no, I don't need to come out of here with my arm ripped off, right? And then Bret came in later on, and it was a fascinating time. And yeah, like I said, I mean, I grew up with two things I wanted to do, at least professionally. I wanted to be a journalist and I wanted to write books. So I've been able to do what I wanted to do, but I've been able to just do a book about Bret Hart and get to talk to Bret. And I feel pretty fortunate in that respect that you're asking me what it was like. Well, I can tell you what it was like because I got to do it. I'm lucky.
Yeah. That was
awesome.
Going to be my question. Did Stu Hart want to put you in a hold? Because I'm there going, he looked like he enjoys that. He enjoyed that. That looked like it was his enjoyment was to have.
Well,
it's a better story that you didn't let him do it, or do you regret it? Like, do you wish you would have?
Maybe it would have been great to be in a submission a hold from Stu Hart to say that I did it, but I wasn't trying to be a hero there. And you have to understand that he's rubbing his palms together like this is right. Hey, want to be in a submission move? And again, that's not a great imitation of Stu. Yeah. That's sort of the way he talks. But I said, no, I don't need to do it. Thanks a lot, right? And so do I regret
if you would have
it?
had a video camera? If you could have had it on video, would you have been more compelled to try it?
No. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to do it, right? Because I didn't feel like I needed to do it to prove anything to him or to me. And
I think you made the right decision. I think you made the right decision, Perry.
Sean would have let him do it. I'll tell you that right now. Sean 100% would have. Sean would have just fallen on the ground and been like, "Stretch me."
Yeah, well, you've seen the movie Wrestling with Shadows and how he's stretching out these guys and kind of want to become wrestlers, and they're crying because he's basically choking them. And to him, that was, if you want to become a wrestler, you're gonna have to know how to take this physical abuse and embrace it. I didn't need to take the physical abuse. I was writing a book. That was going to be enough for me. Okay. And I could tell you these stories. I got to see the Hart house. I got to see Stu Hart. I got to see Helen and Bret and, some of his family members. Right. So that's my story, which is far more important to me than telling you, he put me in a hold and for the rest of my life, my arm hurts.
Yeah. I feel the rain. I feel the rain every time it's coming in this right arm. It's
and just one thing about Hart House, when I went in there, there's 12 kids, 8 boys, 4 girls. 4 girls marry wrestlers. They were all married to wrestlers for the most part. And they're up on the wall. This old house is portraits, the 12 of them, right? Each one of them. And this was after Owen had died, right? Owen had died in a tragic, accident in the something that wasn't supposed to happen. Something went wrong, right? As I said, wrestling can be scripted, but things happen that they're not expected to happen, right? And so just to see, this place where they grew up and all those different, like, the people that some of whom I had a chance to meet, some of whom I didn't, in later years I had a chance to meet Owen's widow, and that was pretty profound stuff as well.
When you think about the Montreal Screwjob, him moving over to WCW, Bret the Hitman Hart, I think we had a conversation beforehand, but I just want you to give this to the listeners. Do you think kayfabe is still even a thing, or do you even think that there was kayfabe within kayfabe within the Montreal Screwjob? Like, is any of the veil is down?
Yeah, for people who want to know what kayfabe is, for the longest time, that was kind of like, this is wrestling and it's between us, and all the marks, all the people out there aren't supposed to know that, we may be traveling together, right? We're best friends. I think there was a lot of things that happened. You could say the steroids, that was sort of the beginning of it, that they had to sort of make people know that this is scripted entertainment. So yeah, the era in which Stu Hart was wrestling, like, that was kayfabe, right? But wrestling has evolved and did evolve to the point where it's a lot more open, right? Certainly now, if you want to, you go and look on Twitter, like, people are saying, this is what's going to happen. I had a friend of mine worked at the Sun, covered wrestling, if you could believe it. He used to go to all these big events, and he knew what was going to happen ahead of time because they were telling him. But that it's sort of this idea that what's going to go on, and yet you don't want to believe what's going on. And you mentioned Triple H. I think Triple H is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time because he was very giving. If it came time to putting somebody else over to make them become important, he always did it, right? I think he was an incredible wrestler, but I think as he evolved into kind of working with Vince and the whole creative, structure of wrestling, he did really well. I mean, he learned a lot from Ric Flair, and just, he paid attention, right? And he's one
he
of
just
those
knew how to
guys
be a
who's-
detailed showman. I think he
Yeah.
understood. I always thought that about him. His detail work was always so good when he was just being, just in front of a crowd. I always thought that's what put him over for me. I never
Because
thought
I
he was the
think
most talented.
The music,
Yeah, I think he
and
got
the
it.
water spray. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he understood, like, he was a student of what he was doing. So he comes in there as some big guy, and they want to make him out to be this character who's like this
Yeah, it was like
Hunter
he was
Hearst
curtsying.
Helmsley, like,
yeah.
it was a kind of a dumb role, but again, he's smart enough to say, if I do this really well, I can prolong my time in wrestling. And a lot of times they give these wrestlers roles and they don't do very well, and that's it. Your chance is over. Now, some of them don't do very well and they leave and come back 15, 20 years later, they've matured and they understand the business a little bit more. But I always thought technically he was really good. Yeah, I wouldn't say he was as great in terms of his athleticism, but I think, one of his nicknames is the cerebral assassin, because he understood the cerebral aspect of what wrestling is. And yeah, I think, to me, like I said, every time, he watched him, like, it's coming up to WrestleMania, and he's going to really make somebody look good because that's what he's been asked to do. And I think that's a tribute to his talent.
I think for myself that the WWE did their best work when they were under pressure. So like when WCW was beating them in the rating wars, you had great products coming out from both sides. And then the WCW just rode that one trick pony till it died, the NWO, where it became too much. And then it was just like, what am I watching? But the WWE, they competed and made characters that had there was no delineating. Like, it wasn't like you're a face and you're a heel. You could switch in the middle of a match, like it could happen like that. That was some of the best products I've ever seen. Then they got fat. Like, they're competing against themselves, Raw and SmackDown. And to me, the product became so polished that it's like, it needed some more of that grit. When I saw AEW come out and do its thing, it's like, I'm looking forward to Wednesdays, you know?
Mhm.
Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah, All Elite Wrestling was kind of this enterprise, this promotion that all of a sudden became huge and became a competitor now of the WWE, right? They have to, they're paying attention. The WWE, for a variety of reasons, has lost. Now the phone's ringing, so you'll have to cut this part on because the phone rings all the time, right? You know?
Mhm.
Anyway, we probably can't even talk about it because I don't know how to turn off the phone there right now, right? My wife's upstairs, and that's another story. But I'll just say that I'm a big fan of AEW. I like what they're doing, and I like the talent they're creating, the talent that they're getting from the WWE. I think the only thing missing right now is getting a solid roster of women, and they're building upon that. And I think then it's just a matter of time before all elite wrestling grows. They have a lot of shows going on. The shows come into Canada, whatever it is. I think I like their product right now, and I'm still a fan of the WWE. And if you like wrestling, it's good because now you got competition.
that's exactly it. And finally, like I think we were talking before we even got on there, is that this is the first time Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar are going to meet, and I'm like, whoa. Like, I know it's been happening a little bit, but NFL playoffs have been going on, so I haven't been paying too much attention to that. Then I look at us like, here's these two behemoths are going to meet for the first time, and I'm there going, they're trying to make some matches now, right? Like some real good matches in WWE in order to compete this, because
But it can't go, just for people who understand, it can't go very far because, first of all, Bobby Lashley has already been a heavyweight champion. Second of all, he's got some talent, but it's more just he's this big guy, and Brock Lesnar is the franchise. They always bring him back because he's their most marketable commodity. So, it's a question then, like, is Brock, going to help Bobby Lashley get it over and make him bigger than he is right now? Or is it going to be Suplex City? And Brock Lesnar has done Suplex City to the best of the best. So, we're coming towards, WrestleMania. So the key thing is to understand who is the one that they're pinpointing to fight Brock Lesnar. And, I have to think I got a couple of ideas, but, whatever it is, Brock will be Brock. And what a great name, Brock Lesnar, the guy who was in the UFC and was a heavyweight champion. This guy's got, in my opinion, he's one of the greatest athletes of all time. He tried professional football and it didn't work out, but I mean, what an athlete. And he's got everything that you want. It's certainly everything that Vince wants, and he wants that big, tough guy. And Brock's also actually starting to cut his own promos, where before it was like,
right.
Yeah, like Paulie Dangerous. I forgot his name, right?
Paul Heyman.
I'm Paul Heyman, right? Well, now Paul Heyman's hooked up with him, right? But the fact that Brock is actually speaking as opposed to just standing there, like, it shows something about what they're doing with him now as opposed to what they did, before.
Yeah, where he was just standing there, just a menacing figure.
Yeah.
He's got to fix his hair though. I don't buy the tough guy with that haircut.
But the way what they're doing with him now, I mean, that's a weird hairstyle he's got, and it's.
I was a big Brock guy until that hairstyle came out, and I just can't. I got to get off the train. I just can't.
Yeah, well, that's again, they're doing something different, and
I'll still watch. Don't get me wrong, Perry. I'm still watching because it's Brock Lesnar. Like,
it's Brock. That's what I'm saying. It's Brock Lesnar, who's one of the greatest athletes I've ever seen. And people say, yeah, he's a wrestler. Yeah. No, a guy who goes into the UFC with not a lot of training and ends up becoming the heavyweight champion. And that's not fake. That's real. Okay. So that's, if he does nothing else in his career, he proved that he could understand and get inside the octagon and actually win. And
I'm a big UFC guy, Perry. Like I that's my sport. I love the UFC. And what Brock did in the UFC, it's unparalleled.
Yeah.
At that time, if you would have put Brock in that situation in the late 90s, back when there was not so many multidisciplined athletes.
Yeah.
Now in the UFC, you've got to be able to, be on the ground, stand up, all those things. Back in the day, one-dimensional. Brock was relatively one-dimensional when he came in and just destroyed everybody.
Yeah.
It was
and,
impressive. It was definitely impressive.
So that's that generational athlete that the UFC had, that the WWE cultivated and then brought him back. And so, yeah, I don't think, with all due respect to Bobby Lashley, I don't know where that whole thing's going. And to me, it just seems like, the two big guys, but at the end of the day, Bobby Lashley is going to be going through, I don't know how many suplexes, because I don't know how many suplexes were put on John Cena, but they were a lot.
Yeah.
Oh no, and I'm intrigued, because you're right. Brock can sell as well, right? I remember when he lost to Seth Rollins, he sold well. I mean, in that beginning of WrestleMania, then Seth ends up going over the top, and it was just because I think Brock's a part-timer in the WWE. He gets paid full-time money, but he likes to go hunt and fish and his extracurricular stuff. So I mean, that's what he does. But he came back, and they needed him. I'm sorry, but the big guys that they have right now, like you said, Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, they're great.
Drew McIntyre is a great example of a guy he wasn't ready when he first came in there, and he comes back 10, 15 years later, whatever it is, and he's a far more polished athlete and good on the mic, and just he's the complete guy. Seth Rollins is the one I'm just wondering, because his wife is Becky, right? Becky Lynch.
Right.
So that kind of like those are two very big personalities in the WWE. So I just, that's it somehow or another. That's where I think Seth Rollins will figure into some kind of, whether it's a WrestleMania with Brock. I'm not really sure, but
Becky's my favorite female wrestler now and probably of all time. I love her. I think she's fantastic.
Who is?
Becky. I think she's the best. Yeah,
Becky's really, really developed as a personality, and I mean, she's great on the mic. Really, really good on the mic, and it's just she's really, really developed into a personality, and she can be a face, she can be a heel. Right now, they have her as a heel, right? But she is good, and so there's some interesting things happening in the WWE and AEW, and for people who like wrestling, great. People who don't like wrestling, too bad.
Missing out.
Yeah.
Welcome back. Hey, I hope you guys enjoyed Perry as much as Sean and I did. Then we had that conversation probably a week and a half ago now, and I've been sitting with it every day. It was just it was a beautiful conversation, I think, between three guys that really love sports and
it was powerful.
And,
it was powerful because it was more than just sports. You're right. It was sports and family.
It was all about real life. And if you're listening and you're all got your video on, you can see here my Eddie book showed up that Perry Lefko wrote. So thanks, Perry, for convincing me to write this book. I bought it even though it wasn't on Amazon Prime. It took 8 days to get here, but I'm enjoying it. So it's a fantastic book. Perry's written numerous books. Go see him. Follow on social media. Tell him we sent you. All those things. Again, Perry, thanks for your time. And we appreciate you.
I still think we're blessed, man. We have some great guests that have come on here, and it's great. It's awesome. Who would have thought 2 years ago that we would be here talking with some people that are doing things within the sports world? It's humbling,
Yeah, it's wild, right? It's wild,
man. So
shout out to you for having a great idea, and shout out to me for allowing you to convince me.
Man, yeah. Well, it wouldn't work without the two of us. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, we are ebony and ivory, as they would say.
Yeah,
tinkling the old ivories there with our fingers.
And every now and then we have to bring in a reed just to
whip
make
us
it
into
fun.
shape.
Yeah,
Whip us into shape. See what I did there? See, that's why I'm here. I'm here for the wordplay, kids.
Man, hey, what did you think of that special weekend that happened last weekend? The AFC and the NFC.
I thought it was an interesting culmination of the sports world. I thought we saw the best weekend of football the weekend prior. But last weekend didn't disappoint. It was the championships for the conferences. So we had the Green Bay Packers had already lost to the 49ers. 49ers were in with the Los Angeles Rams, right? And then we had the Kansas City Chiefs and the perennial underdog America's team led by ice cold Joey Burrow, who just, his swagger is just off the chart, right? The Cincinnati Bengals.
Him and McPherson, those two young boys are just rocking it over there.
Yep, McPherson allegedly again did the same thing. Hey, looks like we're going to Super Bowl, and went out and made the kick. Yeah.
It makes you wonder if, like, you're so young, you just don't understand what's happening at the moment. So
No, I
therefore
think
the
he
nerves don't get to
understands.
you.
I think he's just he's a young Justin Tucker, right? Or whatever. He don't care. He knows what's coming. He just is that good. He's just going to call a shot. He don't care.
That's great, man. Yeah, they were saying that I think he's close to a record that Vinatieri held.
Yep.
But I think he's made 12 in a row, and Vinatieri has 14 field goals in a row. So like not missing. So that's ridiculous. Way to go. I did not see that coming again. I got that one wrong.
Yeah, I think I was 0 for 2, to be honest with you.
No, I think
Did I choose Cincinnati?
I think you chose Cincinnati. Yeah.
I was on
you
the fence with them the week before. Oh, you know what I did? Because I wouldn't choose Kansas City. That's right. So my Cincinnati pick held up. The 49er pick did not hold up. So.
No, I picked the Rams. But I told you that
Jimmy
Kyle
Garoppolo showed up to be himself in that final 2 minutes. What a man.
I told you last week that Kyle Shanahan should get coach of the year because every game he's got to make a game plan to go around his quarterback because his quarterback will not win him the game.
Well,
that is the coach of the year.
Yes, that's not going to happen next year. I can promise you that.
And then, of course, Tom Brady and usual Tom Brady styles. I don't know, maybe somebody's intern somewhere got it messed up on Saturday, but then on Monday, it's all of a sudden it's a go again. Yeah, I'm retired.
Yeah, yeah, pretty
or
wild.
Tuesday.
Pretty interesting to know what happened there. You know, all the talk of Tom, playing as long as he could, still felt good, felt like he had 2 or 3 years left, and then just to be out like that, it's interesting. But
hey, hats off to the man. He was a rival against my team, the Buffalo Bills.
It's fantastic to see this side of Tom Brady. I think we would have been a disservice as sports fans if we hadn't seen post Bill Belichick Tom Brady. If we only would have had New England Tom Brady, maybe we don't feel the same way. But having Tampa Tom is a gift to us sports fans. To see like a phenomenal talent just be that open at the end like that was pretty cool to watch. Reminds me a little bit of Green Bay or of MJ at the end,
This past season, didn't he have his own TV show going on? He had his own podcast going on. He was just on it, man. He was on it and playing football.
Yeah, they had filmed that Man in the Arena series to drop during the season, but I don't think that was alive. I think that happened in the offseason. Podcast definitely was going during the season.
No, but I'm talking about the Gronk and Tom show there.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't see that.
The 3 episodes that happened. I don't know.
Gronk's got to be on his way out too, right? He's not going to be back.
No, I can't see him coming back. I can't. Not at all.
He got that extra $1 million in the Hall of Fame breaking records, and now he's just going to ride off into the sunset and do Gronk things. More power to him.
Yeah. Hey, I did want to change the subject quickly. I wanted to say thank you, Portland Trailblazers, for trading Gary Trent Jr. to the Toronto Raptors.
Oh, man, who called that early in this thing? Man, who was that? Who was upset? Oh, man, which one of us was it?
I was upset losing Norm Powell. Absolutely. Yeah.
You thought that Gary Trent Jr. was not an adequate piece?
Well, I mean, I thought he was good enough. You know what I mean? He was probably going to be Norm Powell-esque before Norm Powell,
Mm-hmm.
Paying the money that we were paying Norm Powell at the time. That's what I thought we were getting. And now 5 straight games, 30 points.
Yep. I told you he was a little Damien.
Man, he is unbelievable. And right now, I mean, the Raptors are clicking. The Leafs are clicking. Did you see Austin Matthews reach his 400th point in 368 games or something like that?
Oh, I must have been asleep.
Yeah. Well, unbelievable talents, unbelievable things happening. I'm really happy here in Toronto. Seattle, congratulations, Philip Grubauer doing a little bit of Kraken history there for a shutout for the franchise.
Someone had to get it. You can see how much ESPN respects him because they had a picture of Chris Dreiger on the Philip Grubauer article.
But it was Philip Grubauer.
Grubauer did it, and Grubauer was in the headline, but it was clearly not Grubauer in the picture. So,
hey, that's team history. That's something to be proud
it
of.
is. Yeah,
You know,
he's actually been serviceable the last 7 games, so it's hard to be upset with it.
yeah.
It hasn't been his fault. So,
Listen, I mean, you know, there's Vegas is a one-time deal.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Seattle just came through the East Coast on a 4-game swing and went 3-1. Like,
Yeah.
we feel good about that.
But I'm just saying, look, Las Vegas, their inaugural season, that was a one-off, man. Like that was something I
Absolutely.
don't think we'll ever see
I think
again.
anybody had those aspirations. We just didn't know hockey at all here in Seattle, and so, you know,
Yeah.
we're just not used to that level of. I mean, with the Mariners, I guess.
But here's the thing: is that you guys have more wins than the Montreal Canadiens. That's something to be proud of.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's like
Sorry,
that
Ryan.
meme. That meme I sent out.
Yeah.
The two things that are at the bottom of the Atlantic.
Oh, did you send that out?
Well, I saw it somewhere and I just
Okay.
conveniently took
Oh,
it.
you mean publicly send it out?
Yeah, publicly sent it out. Yeah.
Spoiler, kids. Most of Sean's good ideas come from me in his inbox.
It's true. It's true. Before we go, I did want to talk about what happened in Chicago about the Chicago Blackhawks this week. So owner Pocky Wirtz and CEO, his son, I forget his name right now. He's also
Danny.
Wirtz.
Little Danny Wirtz.
Danny Wirtz. They decide to have a public fan town hall to just talk about the Chicago Blackhawks.
Is that normal in hockey culture?
Usually no, but I mean, this is also like they're having a losing season. They had
I get why. I didn't know if like owners did this. Owners don't do this in other sports, right?
Not usually. I mean, not even in hockey. I've never seen anybody do any of this. But here he's asked a very normal question. I mean, this is a valid question about Kyle Beach. So if people don't know, Kyle Beach was sexually assaulted by the video coach back in 2010 during the Chicago Blackhawks Stanley Cup run. And he brought his allegations up and nobody did anything about it. And it is believed to have reached the owner as well, as far as the information. But you can't fire the owner.
Let's say this. An independent investigation by the law firm Jenner & Block concluded that nothing was done by senior leaders to prevent the harassment Beach faced, and longtime general manager Stan Bowman and vice president of hockey operations Al McIsaac both resigned, and others were fired because of what was unearthed.
That's right. So he asked.
And then apparently in a heated exchange on Wednesday that you're referring to, Pocky Wirtz, which is a wonderful name for a hockey owner. It's got to be felt like it's scripted. He made it clear he was not willing to revisit the past, including a resolved lawsuit with Beach that was confidential that happened back in December. I'll say this quickly, and just for lawsuits in general. If a lawsuit was filed in May of 2021 and it was settled in December of 2021, I feel like maybe there was some fire where that smoke was.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
6 months to a verdict, to a settlement. Yeah.
Yeah. But I just think, okay, so, there's a couple of black eyes happening here with the National Hockey League, the hockey diversity. Just like a couple of weeks ago, people have been yelling racial slurs at somebody, and there's only 5.7% of the hockey, like people playing hockey, 5.7% in the National Hockey League that are actually people of color that are BIPOC, so Black, Indigenous, and people of color. So there's only 5.7% of those people that play in the National Hockey League. And what is it? What is it, Brad? Looks like
Nothing. I didn't know what that stood for. So.
Oh yeah, BIPOC. Sorry, very much a thing. Yeah. And then
I thought this POC was going to cover us, but we have to add the other part to it now.
So BI is Black, Indigenous, and POC is the people of color.
Yeah, but aren't Black and Indigenous also people of color? That's
right.
That's where I'm crossed up at. I'm not trying to be ignorant. I'm just asking if it feels like it's doubled up. But
well, people of color can also be biracial, right?
I know.
Yeah.
I thought it was all. I thought that people of color was all inclusive. So
yeah, no, because Black and Indigenous seems to be pretty much like separate as far as those people. You know, they label them as separate because the
we should not talk about this anymore because I don't. Yeah.
Well, from what it is
why we separate two groups and then lump and then segregate everyone else into a third group just feels
I don't know.
Really weird
Maybe it just sounds cool. BIPOC. I don't know. It's just like,
that's what I was hoping. I didn't want to get this deep into it.
Well, now you're making me go into the weeds, and I don't want to be talking about this too much. You know, I mean, I do.
Yeah, it's a very serious issue that should be unearthed, fixed, however it is. It's very pathetic that we find ourselves here in this day and age that we're even discussing this because it's an issue. I mean, it's a very real issue. I'm not trying to sweep it under the bridge and say it's not. It's so fantastic of an issue. It should be the forefront of everyone's mind.
Absolutely.
It's just incredible to me that in 2022, like we can't get around it. That just tells you how systematically ingrained it is in people. That people are like, oh, that's not a real thing. What are we doing, folks? Yeah. It's a real thing. Let's figure this out.
And I'm not trying to compare what happened with Kyle Beach because Kyle Beach's incident was a sexual assault, right? And so it's not the same, but it's the same sort of mentality, you know. Like we're not going to revisit this. We're not going to talk about this. This is going to sweep under the rug. We're never going to mention this again.
Let's ban these books.
Yeah, and it's like it just makes you go, okay, do you really think that you're going to be able to just walk away from this? This happened in your organization. Yeah. You should be able to have some sort of answer for this. It's not I'm going to have a hissy fit and walk out of the whole entire thing.
Well, you know that old adage, right? My grandpa always said, you know, the more upset someone got when you were asked a question, the more likely they did that shit.
Very true. Those you know, your grandpa sounds like he was a very wise man. Listen,
Grandpa George had all the answers. He was a wise man.
You know, but
I mean, my dad is retired this week. It was interesting. Went to his retirement party and saw a bunch of people, and even in that retirement party, they were still talking about how my Grandpa George would have been proud of what my dad was able to accomplish, and what us grandkids are accomplishing. And I thought that was real cool. My grandpa's been gone for more than a decade. Still, people are talking about him. That he would be, what he instilled in us would be the thing. So, I'm grateful for those we call them Georgisms. I'm grateful for those things. So, you want to hear my favorite? You want to hear my favorite Georgism?
Let me hear it right now.
He would always say, we're all Tetches. We look good in anything or nothing.
Wise man, George Tesh.
That's right.
How proud are you to share the same initials as your father?
Oh, massive. Yeah. I love it. It's one of the reasons why I really wanted to have a kid with a B. I wanted to carry on this little BT tradition.
I love it.
I stand on the shoulders of giants. It's just the thing. It's easy for us to want to be better for the next generation because we are following in the footsteps of multiple generations of solid leaders and men, and it's it's really fun, to be honest with you.
I want to finish my point with this Blackhawks thing, with the hockey thing.
Yeah.
With this whole entire thing in general, is that we have to learn to be nicer to each other, to understand that we're all human beings here, and to understand that if there is something that has happened, you should not just try to sweep it under the rug. You should be able to look at it and figure out what can be done differently. Because if we're just going to go back, same old business is same old business, it's just going to be same old business. Nothing will ever change. And that is not the way to go, not in 2022.
Yeah, I would argue that's worse than nothing will change. It's that things will change, and they'll change for the worst. That's what we've known to happen.
Yeah.
We have so much access to everything these days. There shouldn't be these incidents. There shouldn't be these things. But it's been so deeply ingrained and so back ass words that we can't, make a statement without people being one way or the other. And that's terrible. Like, no one listens to listen anymore. We listen to respond.
Oh my gosh.
We just don't take the time to hear each other out and to see each other's differences. And we're also, put in these little groups and we can't be wrong. And I was thinking about it today, just how even the political climate and how it drives me crazy. And I watch these people on both sides of the fence bash political leaders. And then when the very opposite happens in their political party, then they celebrate it. And I just thought, you know what? You're not an open thinker. You're not a critical thinker. It's not an open mind for you to not give credit where credit's due. If you're only critical and you don't give credit, you're a terrible person. You're choosing, politics and party over country, then shame on you. And it's the same thing when it comes to how all these things come together. If you're choosing your nationhood or your race or any of that other stuff over a human being, shame on you. Let's stop siding on that. Let's all just be humans. Let's be kind, be gracious. It's not a weakness. Let's get there.
Well put, Brad. All right. I think this brings us to our one-on-one question.
All right.
Do you have one for me, Brad?
I do, but you're not going to like it.
Oh, okay.
It's a would you rather.
All right, do it.
Would you rather not sleep for 48 hours or only be able to use the bathroom at your neighbor's house for a week?
I'm going to pick not sleep for 48 hours. I do some nasty things in those bathrooms. If I want my neighbor to like me, I'm not going to do that.
That was the longest pause in the history of this show. I thought your mic broke.
Yeah, not sleep for 48 hours. That's definitely it. That's the one.
You'd just be punch drunk and just walk around just bear hugging and tickling everybody for 26 hours, huh? Because I feel like about 22 hours you get real punchy.
I was up for 72 one time. Yeah, it was not good at all. It was like
still better than going to your neighbors for a week, though, right?
Yeah, no. I please like me. I like to be invited to barbecues. I do not want to destroy your bathroom. I do not want to do that. Oh man, I did not see that one coming. That was very good. All right. So, with the Seattle Kraken getting their first shutout, how important now is it for Seattle to take the next step into next season? What do you think Seattle needs to do to take that next step in the next season?
Well, I think they have to find some defensive help. I mean, that's part of the problem. We've got some good leaders that are just out on IR or whatever we call it in the NHL. It'd be interesting to see if we could get all of our top picks back from the expansion draft and get them on the ice together, what would happen? But I think, going into the offseason, I think that, a goalie is a priority.
I don't think you're that far off from a couple of pieces,
Yeah, they're fun. They're competitive. We're not losing 5-0. We're losing by a goal, and that's what's frustrating for a new franchise.
I just think you guys had a rocky start in the beginning, right? Yeah. Because there's nerves. You know what I mean?
Well, there was so much expectation. I mean, that place was electric, right? I mean, being in the opener and just watching, there's a reason why they had them go on the road the first 3 or 4 games before they came home, because you can't start the first game of the, an organization's existence at home with a rabid fan base. You can't do it. So it's so fun. True. You should come out and let's go to a game. Let's figure it out.
I'm waiting for it, man. I'm on board.
I'll beat you up in the parking lot and pull your sweater over your head.
I'll even buy a Kraken jersey.
Okay, I know you would. It's not a surprise to
me. Hey! I got to ask you though before we go. So you've been reading the book?
Yeah, I read a chat. Yeah, it came in last night. I read a chapter of it. Yeah.
You're going to have to tell me and the fans about the original George Steinbrenner when you get there.
Okay.
The OG.
I will definitely take that
Ballard.
homework assignment, and on the next episode of Guys Beer Sports, look forward to my book report.
I love it. All right.
Until then, kids, we thank you for your support. We're doing big things. You got some big things on the way. Don't sleep on us. We're on our way now. Don't worry about us. We're going to be there real soon. Just stay rocking with us. We appreciate you. Till next time, be good at it.
Right. Oh.
You've listened to the podcast, but now it's time to visit us in our virtual sports bar. Get all of our info at guysbeersports.com, where you can find all the ways to connect with us. Watch for live conversations with Brad and Sean that happen throughout the week, and join in with your favorite local beer. You can share your thoughts in the conversation comments with your own uploaded videos, or even join us as a guest live commentator. The GBS Virtual Sports Bar is open for business. Come on in, boys and girls.